I'm Aaron from PhoneDog.com, and Verizon customers, you've been kind of left out in the dark lately. You know, AT&T's gotten the One X, T-Mobile's gotten the Galaxy S3, Sprint's gotten the Viper 4G LTE, the Galaxy Nexus, all these different devices, and Verizon's been kind of left out. You know, you customers, I'm sure you kind of felt bad, at least for the first couple of months of the year. Well, now they've got an HTC device, and it's kind of like one of the devices in the One series. This is the DROID Incredible 4G LTE, and it's packing some specs that are kind of similar to the HTC One S. It's got a 1.2 gigahertz dual-core Snapdragon S4 CPU, a 4-inch QHD display, an 8-megapixel camera, Android 4.0 with HTC Sense version 4. It's a new device, but it kind of comes in somewhere between the HTC One V and the One S. It's available now at Verizon for $149.99. Is this the ultimate device for you? We're going to find out. But first, some love to Best Buy Mobile for hooking us up with phones like this for use in our One Paw Bandit giveaway game. When you go into Best Buy Mobile, you'll walk out working. They help you get your emailing set up, your web, all that stuff. So when you walk out the door with this device, you don't have to worry about any of the configuration at Best Buy Mobile. Let's take a look. DROID Incredible 4G LTE. Part 2 of the HTC DROID Incredible 4G LTE review on PhoneDog.com. Now, to give you a recap here, $149.99 gets you this bad boy at Verizon Wireless with a 2-year agreement. This thing kind of sandwiches itself in between the One V and the One S in terms of HTC's one lineup of devices. It's got a 1.2 gigahertz dual-core Snapdragon S4 CPU, a 4-inch QHD display, an 8-megapixel camera with 1080p HD video recording, 1700 milliamp hour battery, 4G LTE, and Android 4.0 with HTC Sense version 4. So it's a decently spec device, don't get me wrong, and it's nice that it has an S4 CPU, but it kind of sandwiches itself in there, and you would think for $149.99 I'd like to be getting a little bit of a better processor. That said, hopefully we'll see this thing go to $99.99 at some point, because once it goes to the $100 price point, I can really see this thing being competitive against devices like the Lumia 900, the Xperia Ion, and more in the marketplace. But you've still got your 7 home screens, and for those people that love HTC, love what they're doing, really disappointed that the One X hasn't made its way to Verizon yet, or ever, whatever the case may be, this is an HTC device that may quench your thirst while you're waiting for that next HTC device, because it does have a lot of similarities when it comes to look and feel. It's got Sense 4.0 here, as you can see, and for the most part this device is relatively fast. That said, like I said in part 1, if you're used to working with a One X or one of the One series devices, you'll notice slight lags here and there when it comes to transition effects and doing a lot with the device at one time. But just want to start part 2 by showing you a couple of different things. First of all, let's take a look at the camera on this device. You've got an 8-megapixel camera with 1080p HD video recording, and you can see here your settings. You got your camera, image resolution, size, and then self-timer, review duration, quality, and more. So we'll go in here, video quality, of course. You can shoot at full HD 1080. And so we'll bring in something. Let's bring in the Samsung Galaxy. I have a little competition here because I just shot the video on Ice Cream Sandwich for the Galaxy S2. So we'll take a look. And the camera doesn't disappoint, much like the One series. Very impressive camera. The downside is, you'll notice you can't do burst mode. And that's the downside. They opted to take out the camera features that come in the One series, the One X, the One S, the Evo 4G LTE. Unfortunately, those features are not present in the DROID Incredible 4G LTE. So that's something to keep in mind if you're looking at this device and considering it. That said, we'll start up the recording here so you can see you can still do this. You can still take still pictures while you're recording. And overall, the camera is good. It's a very decent quality camera. Don't get me wrong there, but that said, if you're used to burst mode or any of those things you really liked about the One series, they do not come included on the DROID Incredible 4G LTE. Otherwise, you can change the camera scenes, and you can of course turn your flash on and off, and then go back through the gallery. So again, pretty decent camera, and again for 150 bucks, certainly not bad in the camera department. That said, I would love to see the. It's kind of like getting used to a device like the One X or the One S, then going back to something that doesn't have the features that those devices have, which is fine if it were priced a little bit more competitively. I think this thing would do really well at $99.99. Now, just to jump into settings, so I didn't show you this in part 1, I want to show you in part 2. This does have some personalization options, and if there's anything HTC does a great job at, it's personalization. You can see here, you can change the scene, the skin, much like the One series. And I know I keep drawing references, but honestly, I feel like everything's kind of a branch off in 2012 of HTC's One series. So you can kind of use those for comparison when it comes to various devices that are going to hit the market this year. But you've got some different themes. So I can go to, let's say, let's go to aluminum, for example, or aluminium, as the British people say, the British folk. And we'll load up aluminum here. and you'll see that the notification bar will change colors as it loads up, and we'll wait for that to finish up, taking its sweet time. So you can see, of course, the clock here, a little bit of a change. You see the application drawer down here, and you'll see the notification bar. Actually, yeah, I was going to say, you'll see the top part did change, I guess, a little bit. And then, of course, the ongoing looks like it changed a little bit to fit the aluminum color. Now I just want to say aluminum color. And then I can go into settings. Let's go back and take a look at personalization here. So personalize, you know, a lot of different options here. Wallpaper, you can change your lock screen style. So if you want the weather to display when you start up, I have it just on wallpaper. I'm really a fan of this one too, the productivity one, because I'm all about missed calls, missed text messages. Oh snap, I missed that conference call. Oh snap, I missed that message about some embargo or something. It all pops up on my home screen, which is really nice. And of course, weather, go ahead and apply that one so you can see the lock screens. I turn it off and back on. You can see Charlotte, ungodly hot, 96 degrees. And then you can see phone, mail, messages, and camera. And I can either lift the ring up, or I can do this. I can bring it down to like mail, for example, and start at mail that way. And the way that works is you pull one out, you put one in. Let's put music in, for example. And come on, and let's put music in. And when I turn it off and back on, you'll see that's the new shortcut down there. But a lot of different options to personalize rather. Unfortunately, you don't get the ability to go to HTC Hub and download additional stuff, additional content on this device. Verizon has opted to remove that for whatever reason, so that's something to keep in mind. Let's take a look at quadrant standard as well here, and take a look and see how it comes in. With the S4 processor, should be relatively quick. That said, the clock speed is a little bit lower than some of the other S4s we worked with over 2012. While this is running, call quality, I'll tell you, has been great. Verizon Wireless does a great job. The call quality did not disappoint. Took it to a dead spot near the university in Northeast Charlotte. And not the University of Northeast Charlotte, by the way, the UNC Charlotte, but it's located in Northeast Charlotte, just for clarification there. 4G LTE works well, call quality's been great, and when I took it there, it was a little bit choppy, but did maintain the call, so that's important to keep in mind. Very impressive call quality. Battery life's been surprisingly decent. It's not as bad as I thought it would be, because you kind of have that legacy HTC mentality where it's like tiny battery is going to equal terrible battery life. I'll say they've really worked hard and they've improved the standby time of these devices pretty well. I mean, I haven't charged this device in some time and it's still sitting at about 60% battery life. Actually about 55% battery life last I checked. And I haven't charged it since Tuesday evenings. I charged it Tuesday evening, and I've worked with it a little bit on Wednesday, and worked with it a little bit on Thursday. But standby time, definitely impressive on this device, and they've really worked to improve that. So I don't think you'll have too much of a problem, despite having a 1700 milliamp hour battery on this device. And then you can see 4,406. Quadrant standard comes in at 4,406, so just a little bit behind the 1X and the Evo 4G LTE at about 5,200, somewhere in that market. Take it with a grain of salt. It is just a random speed test, but still quadrant standard is pretty indicative, or is not indicative of day-to-day performance rather. But giving it comparison to the 1X, the Evo 4G LTE, it's certainly not bad. Let's take a look at speed test as well. Got Verizon's 4G LTE network loaded up over here. And we'll go back. I did not mean to click out of that. Let's go back in here and take a look. And yes, I do agree, of course. And we'll keep it on Shelby. That works. Shelby, North Carolina. I want to make sure it's on megabits per second, though. And then we're going to load it up and begin the test. Now, like I said, I've seen anywhere between 5 and 12 megabits per second on the upload. Verizon's 4G LTE has been out a while. It's definitely saturated in comparison to its competitors, AT&T, and then, of course, Sprint, which rolls out its first 4G LTE markets on July 15th. So, obviously saturated. You're going to see this one's actually a little bit on the low side. Then again, pretty close to rush hour, and I am in uptown Charlotte in the office. So those are a couple of things to keep in mind. But about 3 megabits per second here on the download, 3.2 megabits per second, 1.79 in the upload. So slow all around, but the speeds, I've seen speeds, like I said, between about 5 and 12, 13. I think I saw one that was like 13.21 megabits per second the other day, and that's definitely an impressive speed. But keep in mind, 5 to 12 is what Verizon estimates. 3.23 here on the upload, about actually dropping a little bit, about 1 megabit per second on the upload. So definitely seen better on this. But again, 5:45, roughly rush hour time. So that's something to keep in mind as well. Otherwise, visual voicemail, $2.99 a month from Verizon, but you can integrate it, like I was showing you in part 1, into your text messages, so you can easily access your visual voicemails there. And you can sign up for it through the phone. So that's a nice little feature also. Take one last look here, because this is the new dial prompt. You got some new buttons here, new color font, or new color scheme rather, and new font, people, groups, and then call history, and I can migrate over to call history and access that. Now what I don't like about this is how it groups the contacts and the missed calls in typical HTC sense alongside everything. So I dial 611, for example, and there is a nice little separator here between recent calls and contacts. That said, you get a bunch on the screen, and it becomes a challenge to kind of decipher which ones are missed calls, which ones are received calls, which ones are contacts. I just don't like the way it jumbles all the information together like that. But again, HTC does a killer job when it comes to personal information management. Make sure to watch part 1 if you don't believe me, because the contacts, very well organized across the board. So all in all, a pretty decent device here with some nice features. It runs relatively well, but again, I would like to see this device priced at $99.99 because I think it comes in spec-wise just below the 1S. I think $99.99 is a smarter price point to place this at, because I think at $150, people are going to say, well, hey, I can get the Galaxy S3, I can get the 1X on AT&T, I can get the Galaxy Note, I can get a bunch of different devices outside of this one, and I can pay a little bit more and get better features. So that's something to keep in mind. $50 more gets you the Galaxy S3 on Verizon or the 1X on AT&T. It might be better to spring for one of those, and even if you're a big HTC fan, it might be smarter to spring for the 1X now, or the 1S on T-Mobile even. If you're on Verizon, Verizon's the best in your area. It's the only one that works at your house, and you like HTC, this is going to be a decent device for you because it brings a lot of HTC's great features over to Verizon. Unfortunately, the camera features are missing, the processor is a little bit slower, and the screen is just a little bit smaller. So those are some things you have to put up with. Much more coverage to come on PhoneDog.com with HTC Droid Incredible 4G LTE. Keep it locked on the site. Be sure to like us on Facebook, Facebook.com/PhoneDog. I'd really like to hear from you. If you bought this device yesterday, you're still toying with it, let me know if you love it or hate it so far. PhoneDog_Aaron on Twitter, Facebook, Facebook.com/PhoneDogAB. And in the meantime, be sure to vote for your favorite phone in PhoneDog's official smartphone rankings. PhoneDog.com/rankings. Cast your vote, leave it, and then leave a review and tell us which device you like and why you like it so much. PhoneDog.com/rankings. It is all right there, my friends. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great weekend, and more coverage to come on the HTC Droid Incredible 4G LTE on PhoneDog.com.